Hey everyone, so this is your video for the temporal artifact. It's part of Humanities 109. I just wanted to make sure you guys all understood what was being asked of you. So here is an understanding of how we're looking at this assignment. First off, here is the actual rubric. On the left, you'll actually see some of the language that comes with the header. On the right here, you'll see what we're looking at. So here, this is for the actual artifact, right? This is for your poem, your music, your prose, your whatever you make. This is where it goes. Remember, it has to be using words, dance, music. One of the modalities we've been talking about in the temporal arts, right? The arts of time. So a good project means that I'm going to be able to consume it and understand the message. We talked about this a little bit in class where we talked about movies that have sent not great messages or stories that have sent, unclear messages that are hard for you to decipher. That's what we don't want. We want for your communication to be clear. That's what this is about. So, as a test for this, you can just ask someone to look over your project and see if they get anything out of it. See if they need any prompting. If they need prompting, ask them what would have been good to add to that piece so that it would have communicated what you were hoping to communicate without you needing to prompt them. But this is one of the biggest parts of the assignment. It's probably the most important part. Remember, we're not testing you on your ability to do the art well. We're testing you on your ability to communicate through that temporal form. Next up is the actual summary. So this is an overview of the Part B project. By that we mean this is a holistic score. We're not playing games with the numbers. We're not trying to sort of figure out what exactly went wrong. This is an overview. So if the paper is good, overview, and it has some slight problems, this is going to be a perfectly 5 score, right? But we're looking for all of these things to work together at this point. So we've talked about in class, you have to have a strong thesis that controls everything. And that thesis has to tell us what's in the intro. That intro should be introducing the thesis. They should be working together. The thesis should also control all of your body paragraphs. We'll look at an example here in a minute. And then the conclusion brings some sort of catharsis to that thesis statement. That's what we're looking for. Again, it's a holistic score. It's over the course of the whole paper. This is mostly just to give you guys some insight, and we'll talk in a minute about what you're really hoping to do is to triangulate your score between this score and the next two. Because here we have the actual holistic score. In the next slide, we'll have the actual itemized scores where we will separate the strong thesis and the body paragraphs and the conclusion from each other. And we'll talk about the thesis by itself and then the logic that you created throughout all 3 of these. So, in the next 2 parts, if you're doing those well, this should also be good. If you made mistakes there, then this might have some problems. So if you're getting a 4 in your thesis or in your logic, and you get a 4 here, that shouldn't come as too much of a surprise. What we're trying to say is, here's something you did not super great, something you need to work on, a place for growth, and here's how it impacted the whole thing. Right? So it's not just a small mistake. That small mistake sort of cascaded through the entire project and created larger mistakes. So here's the big deal, the big thesis. Again, here we were talking about what are tests. Tests here would be to just have someone read the whole thing. But again, the best test are the next 2 parts good, and then read through the whole thing and see if it all makes sense together. So the thesis, like we talked about, should be in control. This is about fine-tuning. These 2 scores are where we're going to really dial in to communicate to you what we need you guys to work on for the next few weeks. Be paying attention to the comments as well, because even if you get a 5, that means you've done a good job for the assignment and for our class, but that doesn't mean we're not going to give you comments on how to improve for future classes and for future assignments. So the thesis, really great. Just think of it as sort of does it stand alone? You should be able to take it off and read it by itself and see if it makes sense. From there, we can then look at your paragraphs, and you can see down here at the bottom, the real true test for both of them is the same, is put it into the graphic organizer, right? Like if it's in the graphic organizer and you can see the relationships very clearly, then it should work out fine, right? But if you can't see the logical problems, and that's what we're here to learn is, why doesn't this topic sentence really relate back to this thesis statement? What is really happening there? Also, just so I can show you guys, there are three more little things. So evidence, these are all much more specific, and it's just sort of right or wrong. You need to include one piece of outside research. We've talked about that in class, and it needs to be cited correctly both in text citation and endnote and reference page. Your grammar, syntax, and lastly, APA formation throughout. If you're following the rubric and you're following the model I gave you guys, this should all be perfect. So let's actually look at the model. And you guys have this in the Google Drive folder, but if you don't have it like yet and you're looking at it, you're going to not see the comments on the side, because those comments, you have to download it as a Word document, and then you have to make sure you turn on show comments up here, and you'll see the comments. As we talked about before, APA format, I want the written portion on the first page. If you're doing something like a podcast, we want your script here. There's great transcribing services like otter.ai, where it can actually transform your words to speech, and then you can copy and paste and fix it by listening to it one more time. But let's get into the analysis here, and let's just look at the thesis. In order to help others understand the science of the Big Bang, I wrote a poem to explain the particulars of the beauty of what existed before the Big Bang. This is really complicated still, right? Remember, I wrote this as my first draft of writing. I'm going to come back and try and edit it. I'm not too happy about the I being in this poem, because I don't really think it's necessary. I couldn't think of any other way out of it. If you can't think of a way out of it, please do. In this case, it might help if we looked at the body paragraphs, right? So here we have 1, the idea begins with spacelessness. And down here, 2, there was this nothingness. The poem really hopes to express as deeply moving and beautiful. What I hope you're noticing is there's a step-by-step connection between my claims. My thesis really isn't in control of them, because I moved from this poem shows spacelessness in a really beautiful way. Why isn't that my thesis? And so I might want to go back and edit and just write, this poem showcases the beauty of spacelessness. Period, right? Now, there's my thesis. That's what I'm hoping to achieve. Notice how short it is. Notice how simple it is. Notice that part of my thesis now comes up in both of my body paragraphs, right? My first body paragraph is just trying to explain what that spacelessness is, like a key term. And my next paragraph shows how that thing is beautiful. That is a perfectly logical and reasonable way to understand the paper, and it makes sense. So I would actually delete this thesis statement. Notice, not getting rid of anything else, just this one sentence, and I'm replacing it with the second sentence. That's a great revision strategy for you guys. And you can come back up here and see, okay, does this still work? Quantum mechanics, is this new physics? Great, it's very small, referred to as a quantum scale. However, it can be awful difficult to understand. But notice, I'm not mentioning spacelessness or the Big Bang yet, right? I might want to come in here and add some of that terminology, because it's not quite there. I now need to, what is spacelessness? So I might get the physics of this very small, which is often referred to as the quantum scale. I might go, one of the most troubling parts of this theory is the Big Bang and what predates the Big Bang, or what is often referred to as spacelessness. Now I have a definition of spaceless that I can fill in as I go. That's what I'm trying to show you guys through this. There's relationships that are happening here. Those relationships are really important. Any writing is very much about relationships and communicating. We're trying to build on those relationships. If if you guys are ever coding or computer coding, this is actually like the same logic that computer coding is built on. But for you guys, all you need to know is communication, we scaffold up, we build up. And so I'm building up to this thesis. Spaceless was not yet defined. I should have defined it. Now we can go into the actual body paragraph where we fill in that definition. Because remember, I just kind of gave it an empty space to fill in. I was just like, before the Big Bang, there was this thing called spacelessness. And here, I'm getting into it, right? So I might even take this claim right here, move it just into the intro, and that would be my definition of spacelessness. And then I wouldn't need the apostrophe. But here we can see now, this poem begins with the idea of spacelessness, or that without the Big Bang, there's literal nothingness. Does my evidence support that claim? There was no up, there was no down, there was no side to side, there was no dark, there was no light, nor shape of any kind. Hey, please fix grammar mistakes as you go. But hey, that evidence is pretty on point with this notion of spacelessness, but it still isn't saying it's spaceless. What is it actually saying, and here's where I'm pointing it out, is that spacelessness is actually absent of a point of reference. What we mean by that is, light is a reference, right? You walk towards light, you move away or to from light, right? If you could imagine, we have these things in English called prepositional phrases where we develop relationships in space. What if there was no ever prepositions to use because there was no space? You couldn't say next to the light. You couldn't say, really, even in the darkness. There was no dark. There was nothing. There's nothing to reference anything else by because there's literally nothing. That's what I'm getting at here. So I'm explaining this quote here, and I'm just going to repeat that process until I'm ready to transition. So here you can see I'm using this transition to connect evidences, right? This piece of evidence about no up, no down, to these other evidences down here. And now we can continue to talk, right? They're all under the same claim. They're all doing the same thing. But now we're trying to move away from, okay, I'm done talking about nothingness. I need to move to my next idea, right? And notice here you have a sentence that ends the paragraph that starts with nothingness and then alludes to the next claim, right? Moves people beyond this apathy. Apathy invokes a relationship to sort of emotions or beauty or caring. Now all of a sudden I know that I'm going to be talking about not caring to caring. How do we get someone to care? Well, we make it moving, beautiful. And so this sequence moves along logically, right? You can see up here I had some mistakes. We could also do this, right, where we could, does the poem also hopes to express deeply moving and beautiful idea here. Does that help me prove this poem showcases the beauty of spaciousness? It does. The topic sentences match up. Then we could just see, does my body paragraph down here, does my evidence support this claim? Does my discussion show how this evidence not only supports this claim, this topic sentence, but also the thesis statement? If it does all those things, then we're analyzing effectively. Then we can move on to the conclusion. Remember, I've introduced a concept here that people don't understand this concept, and therefore they don't care about it. I want to end by saying you should care about this concept because it's beautiful. And you should care about other concepts because they're beautiful. And that's how the last line sort of ends. This poem uses the conventions of poetry in order to illustrate how beautiful even the most intimidating theories can be. You can see how I'm starting with apathy. It's often considered dry and interesting because that's where the paper started. This is what we mean when we talk about summarizing a paper in high school. It doesn't look like repeat every claim. What we mean is we're going to start in seemingly the same area where we start with apathy. But it's different now because I've inductively reasoned it out. It's no longer about this one theory. It's about all math. And then I move on to truly understand how beautiful it is. Here's how it works. So I'm not really repeating my claims, but I'm inducting my claims to make them bigger and much more meaningful so that everyone who walks out of my writing can actually see, yes, this is how this works. This is why it matters. This poem matters because it showcases that all math can be made beautiful if only we try. So hopefully that helps you understand what we're looking for here and give you some insight into the tests that we were talking about, how we could just sort of look at a claim and see if our paragraph is proving that claim, and then look at the claims stacked against the thesis and see if they prove each other. If it's all working that way logically, there might be some, mistakes at word level, mistakes at grammar level. Here you can see that some of my claims didn't match up. I had to massage them a little bit to get them to fit. I would now, from an ideal standpoint, go back through, actually reread the entire thing with the new claims in there, with any new discussions, and see if it still made sense. If it still makes sense, make sure my grammar is correct, make sure my APA is correct, make sure my paper style is correct, make sure everything is perfectly in order, and then you can submit it with the audio file of your temporal artifact being performed for me. Remember that there are two parts to this. You're responsible for creating both parts. If you're going to use anything else, it has to be transformed. You can't just plagiarize creative content. But I hope this helps you guys make sense of everything that I'm expecting and everything you guys need to turn in. Have a great afternoon or evening, whatever it is for you, and I'll see you guys in class.